Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and I have a super bright card to share with you guys today. I'm using the modern Mosiac background stamp from My Favorite Things, and I prepped some Canson XL watercolor paper with my anti-static powder tool. And then I'm inking up this stamp with some Versamark ink and then pressing the prepped watercolor paper onto the stamp and then just using really good pressure to get that stamped impression on there. And then I'm going to coat that with some white embossing powder. So pour over the area. I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do with this card, so that's why I cut such a large piece. It was almost the size of the background stamp, like roughly 5.5 inches square. And then I use my heat tool to melt all of the embossing powder. And then I just funnel back the powder back into the container from my little coffee filter there. And then I always make sure to put the lid on because I do have a tendency to knock that over. Then I got some paper towel out and my Mission Gold watercolors. I have been wanting to use this really bright, it's like opera pink, I think is what it's called. This really bright pink for a while now. And this wasn't what I originally planned to do with this background stamp. I wanted to go more neutral. And then I was like, no, I want to go bright. So I have two of my collapsible water cups filled with clean, clear water. And I'm basically just doing wet on wet. So I get my brush wet with clean, clear water. And then I'm wetting one square in this background. And then right now I'm testing it out. So I only did one square. And then I picked up that opera pink. And it's like neon pink. It's so fun. I love it. Love it. So once I knew I was happy with that, I go on and I start doing like multiple squares at once. This did take a while because it's such a large background and I've super sped this up. This is like at 20 times the speed. I'm not sure how long this took me because I was in the middle of like texting and doing all kinds of random things as well as watercoloring. I was all over the place today. So I did all the pink first and then I chose a bright yellow. I didn't worry about one color drying before going on to the next. That's why I did the embossing, because I've said this many times lately. Having the embossing gives you that raised edge. So if you're careful, you're not going to have one area bleed into another. Again, though, you just need to be careful with it, because if you drag your water brush or anything like over the stamp lines, you can pull that color if it's still wet into another area. So if you do not want them to mix, either be careful or let those areas dry before you go onto them. But I didn't have a problem with this at all. So I just went on and did my thing. I mixed a couple colors just to experiment. And then I let it all air dry. I walked off and did some other things. And then once it was completely dry, it just created this really cool and crazy bright pattern background. So I peeled off my painter's tape and then decided to die cut this with the largest die from the Blueprints Dynamics 1 set. So I taped that into place with some micropore tape to make sure it stayed straight. And then I die cut a circle of vellum just to soften it a tiny bit, but then you can still see the bright colors just to give me somewhere to put my sentiment. And then this bright pink cardstock, I just have it from my stash. I'm pretty sure I got it from Michael's. I will say it's very thin cardstock. It's not very good quality, but I don't have any like MFT and Simon Says, which are the two, like my main two cardstock peoples that I prefer. They don't have bright colors like this. So I pulled that out of my stash and then I backed it with some sticky adhesive. So peeled off the backing and backed each of those pieces with that. And then I ran those through or stick it adhesive. That's what it's called. And then I ran that through my die cut machine with the Hello There Dynamics. I just wanted the word hello. So I die cut it 3 times, which I definitely needed to do with this cardstock. And like I said, I think they claim it's a 65-pound weight cardstock. It's at least that, if not even lighter weight than that. I had a bit of a time getting these 3 adhered, but I adhered them all together. And then I die cut some white cardstock and some black striped pattern paper from the MFT. This is their, where did I write it down? Dots and Stripes Neutral 6x6. So did that, and then I decided as I was sitting there, I was like, I want to make this sparkly. So I should have added, looking back, I should have added clear sparkle, but I wanted to see how this pink Spectrum Noir would look on top of that pink cardstock, and you can see it deepened it a lot. It's really sparkly. I'll show you at the end. It's super fun. But this was the pink Garnet Spectrum Noir. So if you wanted to keep that brightness of the cardstock, just use the clear instead. But I was still happy with it. I didn't feel like re-die cutting everything. So I made it work. And then I adhered my vellum circle kind of hanging off the edge of this with those fishtail flags that I had die cut. And I just folded it over the edge of the cardstock. I get asked that a lot. Like sometimes I cut it off, sometimes I fold it over. Like what's my thinking? And honestly, it just kind of depends on my mood. I am going to change the sew in a minute. I folded it over and I thought I liked that. And then I adhered the die cut sentiment to that. And then I wanted to bring in a little bit more black because that striped pattern paper just kind of was a little stark. So first I brought in some black enamel dots, and then I just needed to bring in one more something black. So I die cut some black cardstock with the largest die from the Blueprints 2 Dynamics. And then I was like, that's a little too much black. So I die cut a piece of bright yellow cardstock with the smallest fishtail die, and I like that. And then I was going to adhere this all together, and I realized I didn't like having those pieces folded over there. They made it too bulky. So I peeled it carefully back up, and this time I trimmed it off with my scissors, just using the edge of the watercolor piece as my guide. So trim that all off to remove all that extra bulk so that it would lay flat. And then I adhered that to the black cardstock. I could have adhered it with foam tape. I did think about that, but I didn't want to add a whole bunch more bulk to this card. So I'd cut it off and then adhered it flat to the black cardstock, and then adhered this flat to my white card base, which is 4 1/4 by 11 inches and scored at 5 1/2. And then I have this leftover piece of watercolor cardstock here that I had done in the beginning. And I didn't want to toss this because I'd put quite a bit of time into this. So I decided to use that in the inside of my card. So I trimmed off the edges and the one little bit there at the bottom. And then I added my adhesive to that, and then I adhered that to the inside of the card just shy of the spine so that the card can still fold closed easily. And I trimmed off the bottom, and then I added just a little strip of that same pattern paper just to tie it all together. And that finished off the inside of the card. I kept it really simple. I didn't stamp any sentiments. In fact, other than the background, there's no other stamping on this card. So that finished it off for today. And here you can see this sparkle on the sentiment. So fun. Love these sparkle pens. These and my Wink Stella I just love. So as always, I will have links below the video to my blog post with this card and the pictures, as well as links to all the supplies used. So check that out below if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.